We live in interesting times for the headlines. Powerful Typhoon Hagibis has made landfall in Japan as torrential rain and winds have already lashed the country, causing floods and mudslides. A magnitude 5.7 earthquake hit the Kanto region around 6:22 p.m. on Saturday.
Oh wow, to the Arctic?
Wind-driven wildfires forced the evacuation of about 100,000 people in Southern California and destroyed dozens of structures and homes, as authorities warned it could take days to extinguish the flames. Hong Kong seniors participate in an unsanctioned sit-in protest outside the police headquarters, demanding a thorough investigation into accusation of police abuse of power. I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us, and now to the news. Powerful Typhoon Hagibis has made landfall in Japan, according to officials, as torrential rain and winds have already lashed the country, causing floods and mudslides. Take a look. The eye of Typhoon Hagibis had made landfall shortly before 1900 in Izu Peninsula, southwest of Tokyo, according to the Japan Meteorological Agency. The agency warned earlier that winds of 180 kilometers per hour could cause further flooding and landslides. Flights and trains have been shut down, while shops and factories have also been closed. Even while the storm was still out to sea, tornado-like winds battered Chiba, east of Tokyo, damaging homes and toppling a car, killing its occupant. The weather agency said it could be the strongest storm the country has faced since Kanagawa Typhoon in 1958, which left more than 1,200 people dead or missing. Now, in Philippine language, in Tagalog, Hagibis means speed. Now, powerful Typhoon Hagibis on Saturday claimed its first victim even before making landfall, as Japanese weather authorities issued a top-level emergency rain warning, and millions were issued non-compulsory evacuation orders. Rated large and very strong, the storm has forced the cancellation of 2 Rugby World Cup matches, disrupted the Japanese Grand Prix, and grounded all departing flights in the Tokyo region. It is forecast to crash into land in central or eastern Japan early Saturday evening, packing maximum gusts of 216 kilometers per hour or 134 miles per hour, according to Japan's meteorological agency. But hours before the worst of the storm arrived, its outer bands claimed the first casualty in Chiba, east of Tokyo, which was also badly hit by a powerful typhoon last month. A 49-year-old man was found in a toppled mini truck. He was sent to hospital but confirmed dead, according to Hiroki Yashiro, a spokesman at the Ichihara Fire Department in Chiba. Hours of torrential rain prompted the JMA to issue their top-level emergency warning for heavy rains for parts of Tokyo and surrounding areas, issued only when disasters are expected. Hagibis is forecast to be the first storm rated very strong to hit the main island of Honshu since 1991, when the category system was introduced, according to another JMA official. By mid-afternoon, 3.25 million people were under non-mandatory evacuation orders. More than 13,500 people had moved to shelters, including some whose homes were damaged by a powerful typhoon that hit the region last month. The weather agency also said Hagibis is an unusually large storm, expected to bring brutal winds and violent seas to large swathes of the country. Now, with the center of the storm still hundreds of kilometers away in the Pacific, torrential rain was falling and tornado-like gusts of winds ripped into several homes in Chiba, destroying one. Take a look. 5 people, including a 3-year-old boy, were sent to hospital, but none suffered serious injuries, according to the local fire department. In Gotemba, west of Tokyo, the fire department said it had rescued one man who fell into a swollen canal, but was still searching for a second. The JMA has forecast half a meter of rain for the Tokyo area in the 24 hours to midday on Sunday, with more for the central Tokai region, but many rivers were close to breaching their banks by Saturday afternoon. Now, local authorities warned they would release water from the Shiroyama Dam southwest of Tokyo, possibly starting at 5 p.m., warning people living near downstream to be on alert. Thousands of homes in Tokyo and the surrounding areas lost power, though in some cases only briefly, with crews working to reconnect people as quickly as possible. Automakers including Toyota and Honda have shut down their factories, and many supermarkets and convenience stores in the capital closed a day after residents shopping for typhoon supplies emptied the shelves. Meanwhile, the storm has forced the delay of Japanese Grand Prix qualifiers scheduled for Saturday and the cancellation of 2 Rugby World Cup matches: England, France, and New Zealand, Italy. It could also jeopardize a key matchup between Scotland and Japan on Sunday. Officials are not expected to make a final decision on that game until Sunday morning, after they've assessed any damage to the venue and transport links. Now, Scotland face elimination if the match is axed, and have warned they could take legal action if the game is cancelled. World Rugby called the threat disappointing. Take a look.
We're questioning that principal statement that's in the participation agreement that says there's no flexibility and it will be cancelled. We're saying we've got a legal view that says that has flexibility in the scheduling, but really we don't want to talk about that. We just want to say, guys, let's be common sense about this. We've been preparing for 4 years like everybody else has, and the world wants to see this game take place. And we don't want to get into some kind of legal arm wrestle with World Rugby. We don't want to criticise World Rugby, but we do believe we're being timed out in this competition. And being timed out is not a comfortable place to be, and it's collateral damage that's going to be Scotland with collateral damage, and it's not something that we're prepared to sit back and take. I think you can see from social media that people feel that this doesn't feel quite right. And all we're saying, we're not being strident, we're not being difficult, we want to compromise, and we're asking for a 24-hour delay so the game can be played in perfect safety.
The storm is also causing transport chaos over a long weekend in Japan. By early afternoon, all departing flights from Tokyo's Haneda and Narita airports were grounded, with bullet trains and local trains halting some or all services. Even Tokyo's Disneyland and Disney Sea theme parks shut up shop in their first ever all-day typhoon closure. Now, our EBC correspondent in Japan, Tyra Lu, earlier told us how they prepared for what could be its heaviest rain and winds for 60 years as Typhoon Hagibis closed down on Japan. Here's Tyra Lu.
As Super Typhoon Hagibis threatens eastern Japan, people in the area take several measures to prepare them for the worst to come. Several shelves in local supermarkets ran out of merchandise and goods as residents started panic buying few days before the typhoon's forecasted arrival to hit the greater Kanto area on Saturday. I am here in front of a local supermarket here in western Tokyo. Let's check the situation inside. Meat products, bottled water, bread, noodles, and other ready-to-eat and basic food products are some of the items most people bought to prepare them for a couple of days.
Ang paghahanda po namin sa ganitong mga sitwasyon tulad po ng paparating na bagyo ay bumili na po kami ng aming pong mga pangailangan tulad po ng mga hindi po nasisirang pagkain, mga kailangan po ng mga bata, yung pong flashlight, mga radyo, kung ano man pong kailangan sa ganitong mga sakuna. Kaya sa ganitong mga kalamidad ay maging aware po tayo mga kapatid, mga kababayan. Huwag po tayong maging kampante dahil malakas po ang typhoon na ito. Dahil po nagbabala na rin po sa amin pong mga trabaho na hindi bihira ang ganitong mga klase po ng bagyo, mga kababayan. Kaya manalig tayo, patuloy tayong manalangin sa Panginoong Diyos na malampasan natin ang lahat ng mga ganitong mga kalamidad. Wala po sanang mapapahamak at sama-sama tayo mga kababayan, mga kapatid, na manalangin na wala pong mangyayaring masama sa bansang ito. Sana po ay maging aware po tayong lahat at magkaroon po tayo ng panahon na makapaghanda rin para hindi po tayo mabigla pagdating ng ganitong mga kalamidad.
In Ome City in western Tokyo, we talked to some teachers in this public daycare for graders. They said it's a very strong typhoon, so as to ensure safety, they remove all objects outside the building. All service bicycles, tents, pool, bamboo pools, among others, were moved inside one of the classrooms. Even garbage were securely tied in a safe location. Screen doors were removed as well to prevent them from being blown away. The Japan Meteorological Agency, or JMA, said Hagibis is classed as a violent typhoon, the highest category on Japan's typhoon scale. They predict Hagibis could weaken slightly as it churns over cool waters and that it will be above or near the greater Tokyo area Saturday evening as a very strong typhoon, the second highest category. The area will start to see waves and rain intensifying Friday night. Reporting from Tokyo, Japan, this is Tyranel Pililu for Eagle News International, and I am one with 25.
Now we have a report coming in from Hamamatsu, Japan. Here's our EBC correspondent, Aimiko Iwa.
I am currently here in Hamamatsu City, in Shizuoka Prefecture, and here are some updates in my area.
In Hamamatsu City, since around 6:30 in the morning, residents received a warning in their phones to evacuate in the nearest evacuation centers to those who take time to evacuate, especially the elders. And around 4 p.m., people received a level 4 warning due to rising water levels in some areas, and evacuation advisory is issued in almost all places in Hamamatsu City.
Right here in Hamamatsu, Japan, this is Aimiko Iwa. I am one with 25.
Okay, let's head on to Kawasaki City and find out the situation there from our EBC correspondent, Christine Mendoza. Christine?
I am here at Sogo Kagako Shirisu High School, one of the evacuation centers in Kawasaki City, Kanagawa Prefecture. Here are some updates in my area. As of 5:30 p.m., the Tamagawa River near this area is continuously rising as rains never stop pouring. Most evacuees are the elderly and families with children. Earlier, the volunteers distributed wool blankets for the evacuees to stay warm. Reporting from Kawasaki City, Kanagawa Prefecture, this is Christine Mendoza for Eagle News International, and I am 125.
Meanwhile, a magnitude 5.7 earthquake hit the Kanto region around 6:22 p.m. on Saturday, it registered as 4 on Japan's quake intensity scale of 7 in southern Chiba Prefecture and 3 in the 23 wards of central Tokyo. This is according to the Meteorological Agency. The epicenter was located off Chiba Prefecture. No tsunami warning has been issued. The quake came as Typhoon Hagibis, one of the most powerful storms to hit the area in years, was set to make landfall further west in the Kanto region. All right, let's get an update now. We're still following the developments out from Japan. Let's get an update from Tyra Lu. Tyra?
Emergency notifications have been alerting almost every hour mobile phones of residents in various prefectures in the Kanto and Tokai regions, among other areas in the eastern part of Japan, as Super Typhoon Hagibis inches its way northward. Several disaster prevention and river inundation advisories were sent almost hourly since 6:30 in the morning Japan Standard Time. Here in western Tokyo, special warning has been issued for western and southern Tama, warning residents of possible landslides, lowland flooding, and river inundation as of 6:32 p.m. Japan Standard Time. As of 7:30 p.m., the Tokyo Metropolitan Government issued warning level 4, informing all residents living near a cliff, valley exit, and other areas under landslide disaster warning area to evacuate to safer areas, particularly in Tachikawa, Musashi Murayama City, and Mizuho area. Tokyo area has already received emergency alert level 5 due to heavy rains, flooding, causing various disasters in some areas, but so far no death or serious injuries were reported as of the moment. In Tokorozawa City, Saitama Prefecture north of Tokyo, immediate evacuation has been issued at 9:50 in the morning to all elderly residents. Thousands of residents in Tokyo and its neighboring prefectures were left without electricity, but only for a few hours, as power providers tried to fix the problem immediately. Many 24/7 supermarkets and convenience stores have closed since early this morning. Reporting from Tokyo, Japan, this is Tyra Nokuyu for Eagle News International, and I am 1 with 25.
Thank you, Tyra. Eagle News, we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Visiting the Philippines, Manila or Quezon City is a popular destination. But oftentimes the hustle and bustle of the city can be more stressful on your vacation. So when you feel the need to reconnect to nature or relax again, there's a beautiful oasis just outside of the city called the Garden at Ciudad de Victoria. That you can see here include hydrangea, snapdragon, and stargazers. They're truly beautiful. The gardens at Ciudad de Victoria are so peaceful, tranquil, and beautiful that it's become a haven for young couples and a very popular venue for engagement photos. The next time you want an escape from the big city, the garden at Ciudad de Victoria is a wonderful place to visit.
Wind-driven wildfires forced the evacuation of about 100,000 people in Southern California and destroyed dozens of structures and homes, as authorities warned it could take days to extinguish the flames. Take a look. Now, by Friday
wow,
evening,
yeah.
local time, the strongest blaze, dubbed the Saddle Ridge Fire, had consumed about 7,542 acres in areas of the San Fernando Valley, about 20 miles north of downtown Los Angeles, according to fire officials. They also added that it had damaged or destroyed at least 31 structures and was 13% contained as of Friday evening. One man in his 50s died of a heart attack as he struggled to save his home in the Porter Ranch area. The fire quickly got out of control after it erupted late Thursday for unknown reasons in the city of Silmar, driven by low humidity and gusts known as the Santa Ana winds.
That seems to be the new normal in California. I mean, the vegetation is so dry, and I think that's probably, we kind of got lucky. It could have been worse because the vegetation was so short. Even though it was dry, it was short. It didn't really grow back from the last fire. You have to be California, earthquake ready. You have to be fire ready. Yeah, for those of us that have a family, it's a little daunting sometimes.
As the so-called Saddle Ridge brush fire in the San Fernando Valley rages on, the deputy chief of LA's fire department said the fire season has expanded and that the residents can expect hazards at every portion of the year.
You know, unfortunately, there is some truth to that the fire season is expanded. We used to be able to think of it in 3 or 4 month windows, but now at every portion of the year there's some sort of hazard that we're asking people to cooperate with us and potentially evacuate. They've estimated the fire to be about 7,500 acres at this time. The fire is being fought by 500 firefighters from your Los Angeles Fire Department, in addition to 500 additional firefighters from the surrounding agencies such as Los Angeles County, CAL FIRE, and the Angeles National Forest.
The wildfires in the south erupted as California's largest utility, Pacific Gas Electric, or PGE, implemented rolling power blackouts that affected some 2 million people in Northern California this week. About 312,000 customers remained in the dark Friday as a result of the shutoffs designed to reduce the threat of wildfire that can be sparked by lines downed in heavy winds. Many schools and universities were also closed in northern parts of the state as people stocked up on gasoline, water, batteries, and other basics, with frustration mounting at the blackouts condemned by some as third world. Now in Los Angeles, as we said earlier, the Saddle Ridge fire has forced mandatory evacuations. It has also closed several freeways and sent thousands seeking shelter. We have an update from our EBC correspondent, Eva Basilyahe. Eva?
The Saddle Ridge fire has prompted massive evacuation orders for thousands of Southern California residents, some of whom are seeking shelter here at the Silmar Recreation Center.
The fire was coming down the hillside and we could see the wind was blowing so hard. So yeah, we said we just need to get out of here. You could see the flames. Oh my goodness, yes. We could see the flames. They were vivid. It was out of control. It was out of control. So there was a lot of smoke and it got to the point where I had to, take my jacket and cover my face just to breathe.
I'm here because my dad thought it was a good idea to come to the shelter. They have given me a blanket, a bed, some food, and also a TV. Coloring books, and my toy, and my blanket, and a place to be safe.
I think the house is safe right now in this moment because we was there like 2 hours ago. But the smell is very bad over there, and that's why they keep us here at least for another day.
I sell these homemade tortas, but today I have some left, and I know with all my heart I've been thinking about these people that is here because I live 2 blocks from here, and I know a lot of people from other areas are coming to this place, so I thought about them and bring some food, and also for the LAPDs, for the fire department. I would like to thank everybody for help. I have 2 daughters that work for the law enforcement, so I know what it is. So thank for them. They help us a lot.
This fire here has displaced a lot. We actually have 4 shelters. We have here Sylmar, we have Granada Hills, we have Northridge, and we have Mason Park is one. And Los Angeles City has actually opened up one too, and they're thinking about opening another one. All of our facilities are at max right now. Here we have 75 people, plus we have about 19 animals consisting of dogs and cats too. Every day we take a tally of how many people are here for breakfast, how many people are here for lunch, how many people are here for dinner, so that we know we have enough food. And then we consider the other people, like the police are here, media is here, we have the LA Parks and Recs are here, we have city employees, we have behavioral health here from the county, the same. So looking at all these together, we're here to help them all because we're working together as a group. You see kids and all of a sudden, they've maybe lost their house, and someone gives them a stuffed animal, and that's like, wow. And so it gives them something to comfort, and it helps them, because all of a sudden they've got something where it's like, wow, this is mine. And it's where they might have left their stuffed animal or their doll at home, and all of a sudden now they have something more to help them, to comfort them.
According to the Los Angeles Fire Department, 31 structures have been damaged or destroyed by the Saddle Ridge fire that's burned over 7,500 acres. Latest reports place containment at only 13%, with over 13,000 residents displaced from their homes. California Governor Gavin Newsom has declared a state of emergency in Los Angeles and Riverside counties due to fire outbreaks. And with high winds elevating the danger, more than 1,000 firefighters are on the ground battling the flames, while airships are bombarding the blazes with payloads of water and fire retardant. Red flag warnings are expected to continue into Saturday evening. With Santa Ana winds potentially feeding flames and spreading embers, the message from emergency services for Los Angeles residents is clear. Be packed and ready to go at any moment in case your neighborhood is instructed to evacuate. Live in Sylmar, California, Eva Basayahe, Eagle News. I am one with 25.
Thank you, Eva, and do take care, you guys. Oscar winner Jane Fonda was arrested Friday outside the U.S. Capitol, where she was protesting climate change and demanding action to protect the environment. Take a look. The 81-year-old film star, longtime activist and exercise guru was taken into custody with several others after 10 minutes of protesting on the Capitol steps. Video posted on Fonda's Facebook page showed. And today, the United States Capitol Police arrested 16 individuals for unlawfully demonstrating on the east front of the U.S. Capitol. A police spokeswoman said in a statement that did not identify those detained. Fonda, dressed in a bright red overcoat, chanted climate action slogans before she was handcuffed and led away to cheers from fellow protesters. The protest may become a familiar sight on Capitol Hill. Fonda recently told the LA Times that she was moving to Washington for 4 months, fully committed to fighting global warming with a passion similar to that of Swedish teenager and climate activist Greta Thunberg. In other news, Hong Kong seniors participated in an unsanctioned sit-in protest outside the police's headquarters. They're demanding a thorough investigation into accusation of police abuse of power after an emergency law ban on demonstrators wearing face masks announced last week failed to quell the unrest. Take a look.
As a senior, we hope we can do something to support the youngster. This movement is not just for the young people, it's for the whole Hong Kong. So whatever the age, we hope we can do something to support the movement. We have less cost for actions. We have to work, no need to don't worry about our salary. Don't worry about our future. Even you get me to arrest me, then it has this impact on our families. But for the young people, if they get arrested, it's a high impact on their future.
So So we have to show them that actually we are supporting the young people. We are supporting the young people. And actually the young people know exactly or know very well that what they are doing. That's why we choose to sit 48 hours to, first of all, to show our support for those who are arrested, and secondly to show that we don't want any extension of this detention period.
Hong Kong's protests started in opposition to a now abandoned extradition bill but have mushroomed in 4 months into a movement for more rights and an outlet for anger at social inequality in the Asian financial hub. Hong Kong has experienced relative calm since last weekend when a peaceful march by tens of thousands spiraled into a night of running battles between protesters and police. Since then, there have only been small nightly protests and activists have not flagged any major action this weekend. Turkey kept up its assault on Kurdish-held border towns in northeastern Syria on Saturday on the 4th day of an offensive that is drawing growing international condemnation, even from Washington. Buoyed by a night of steady advances, Turkish troops and their Syrian proxies pressed their advance into an area along the central section of the border that, although Kurdish-controlled, is mainly ethnic Arab. The two towns at either end of the zone, Ras Al Ain and Tel Abyad, have come under heavy bombardment, prompting civilian residents to flee in their tens of thousands. Ankara's forces have taken control of the Syrian border town of Ras Al Ain, which has been a focus of its operation against Kurdish militants, according to the Defense Ministry. Heavily outgunned, fighters of the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces have taken heavy casualties resisting the Turkish assault. At least 20 SDF fighters were killed in clashes overnight, according to the observatory, taking their losses so far to 74. The heavy exchanges have led to civilian casualties on both sides of the border, 20 so far on the Syrian side, according to the observatory, and 17 on the Turkish side, according to Turkish reports. Facing with mounting condemnation even within his own Republican Party of his apparent abandonment of a loyal U.S. ally, President Donald Trump has toughened his policy towards Ankara, threatening it with sanctions if its operations goes too far.
I just met with President Trump, and he has authorized and will be signing a new executive order giving the Treasury Department, in consultation with himself and Secretary Pompeo, very significant new sanctions authorities that can be targeted at any person associated with the government of Turkey, any portion of the government. This will be both primary sanctions and secondary sanctions that will be applicable.
But Turkish counterpart Recep Tayyip Erdogan has voiced defiance, and the Pentagon has reported no progress in its efforts to persuade Ankara to halt the offensive.
YPG'ye karşı evet attığımız bu adımı asla durdurmayacağız. Kim ne derse desin durdurmayacağız.
Meanwhile, the Pentagon blasted Turkey's incursion into northeastern Syria early Friday, saying it risked further destabilization of the region and accusing Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of an impulsive move damaging relations between Washington and Ankara. In the strongest U.S. statement yet against the attack launched on Wednesday, U.S. Defense Secretary Mark Esper warned of serious consequences for Ankara if it does not stop the assault on Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces positions in the area. But U.S. defense officials said there were so far no signs Turkey would halt its attacks.
To be clear, we are not abandoning our Kurdish partner forces, and U.S. troops remain with them in other parts of Syria. The impulsive action of President Erdogan to invade northern Syria has put the United States in a tough situation, given our relationship with our NATO ally Turkey, who has fought alongside the United States in the past, the Syrian Democratic Forces who helped us destroy the physical caliphate of ISIS, and the safety of U.S. military personnel. But I will not place American service members in the middle of a long-standing conflict between the Turks and the Kurds. This is not why we are in Syria. We will continue to work with the 80 members of the Defeat ISIS Coalition and the Syrian Democratic Forces to ensure the defeat of ISIS.
To other news now, Canadian party leaders are taking part in a final televised debate in Gatineau ahead of the October 21 elections. And polls are showing that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's Liberals are neck and neck with Conservatives. With neither party likely to win an absolute majority, we have an update from our EBC correspondent, Andre Lahoy.
2 weeks before the 2019 Canadian federal election, where Canadian citizens vote new members of the 43rd Canadian Parliament. The debate is of pivotal importance to Canada's democracy, giving the chance for Canadians to have an informed decision for October 21st elections. The debate was organized by the Leaders Debate Commissions and its partners in the Canadian Museum of History in Gatineau, Quebec. Party leaders, Liberal leader Justin Trudeau and Conservative leader Andrew Scheer, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet, and Green Party leader Elizabeth May, as well as People Part Canada leader Maxime Bernier, participate in a 2-hour-long debate.
The debate started off with a discussion of leadership in Canada and the world. Scheer vows to stand up for Canada, promoting free trade and defend Canadian interests. Furthermore, Scheer calls for Trudeau that he pretends to stand up for Canada, calling him a phony and a fraud. In an open debate on Bernier's tweet, a diversity as a cult and extreme multiculturalism, newcomers bring distress and potential violence, and calling Greta Thunberg clearly and mentally unstable, Bernier said that multiculturalism is not a way to build this country. He debated that Canada should have fewer immigrants. Trudeau argued that Bernier is playing a role on making people fearful about migrants happening in the world, and that Bernier's role tonight is to say publicly what Scheer thinks privately. On polarization, human rights, and immigration, Bill 21 is a ban on religious symbolism in the public sector in Quebec. Singh opposes Bill 21 as well as May and Trudeau. Trudeau argued that Singh did not say that he would possibly intervene in protecting minority and language rights, while Blanchet argues that 70% of the population in Quebec are supporting Bill 21. On diversity, Bernier said that immigration is not polarization. He said that current migration is the equivalent of one Nova Scotia every 3 years. Canada needs fewer migration with a maximum of 150,000 a year with more economic immigrants. Singh argued with Bernier that he does not deserve a platform based on his tweets and comments on diversity. On Indigenous issue, Trudeau was questioned by Scheer on firing the first Indigenous Attorney General for doing her job. On affordability and income security, May made a bold promise to balance federal budget in 5 years, while Scheer proposes on decreasing foreign aid by 25% to stop sending money to relatively well-off countries so that Canadians can have more money. On media conference, Singh was asked not willing to fight for people who do not have the place and platform that he has right now.
I want to be able to take the opportunity to say it's wrong to divide people based on the way they look. And I want to win over people in Quebec and let them know it's wrong to divide people and make it legal to divide people and to discriminate someone just because of what they wear. It's wrong. And I have the opportunity to do that every single time I go to Quebec, and in fact, every single time I have a press conference. And I'm happy to make that really clear. It's wrong.
It's wrong, but you won't intervene.
Well, there's a court challenge right now, and I make it really clear I do not want to interfere in any way with that court challenge. And that's been my position. I've been very clear on that.
Would you leave the door open like Mr. Trudeau has said, to a court intervention.
Well, Mr. Trudeau is just stating a matter of fact, just the fact that there's...
How come you won't
No, I'm saying that very clearly. He's just repeating a matter of fact. I said it already, that there is, anytime a court matter gets to the Supreme Court, the government takes a look at it. He's just stating a matter of fact. That's true. Any Prime Minister has to look at a court issue that gets before the Supreme Court.
You're
So, of
leaving the
course,
door open to a potential challenge.
what I'm stating is that it's a matter of fact that any matter that gets to the Supreme Court, the government and the Prime Minister will take a look at it.
And when asked about accepting a cabinet post in Justin Trudeau's government, Singh answers,
And what I've made really clear is that I'm running to become Prime Minister, and as Prime Minister I will work with anyone that wants to advance things like universal pharmacare and our dental care program. I've only ruled out one party, and that's the Conservatives.
André Lajoie from Eagle News International. I was just wondering, can you talk about your platform and on pharmacare?
Oh, I'm very proud of the fact that in 2015, Greens were the only party calling for pharmacare, and because we do like working together, I'm very pleased that now the NDP have a position close to ours. The Liberals are not quite as clear, but we are really on the verge of being able to push through universal single-payer pharmacare. It's essential. Back to the affordability issue, the study that was issued earlier today, research done at St. Michael's Hospital made it clear that not only does pharmacare deliver better health results, it helps people make ends meet in a way that has a big impact on affordability. It brings down drug prices. It's really, the evidence from all around the world is clear. So we took the estimate the Parliamentary Budget Office gave us. We didn't provide as many limitations on our request, so it's we had a certain amount of sticker shock when we saw the announcement that PBO thought it would be $27 billion, but we found enough revenue to be sure that we can do it.
And how about more doctors in rural
We need to renegotiate the Canada Health Accord. We need to go with what the medical community is recommending as having the patient's medical home be a team medicine approach. We need to rethink healthcare in the 21st century, but we really need a new National Canada Health Accord. And we must never forget that while healthcare is delivered by the provinces, it's the Federal Minister of Health who's responsible for enforcing the Canada Health Act, and we've been too slack for too long in making sure we don't allow any creeping two-tier medicine into Canada.
When Trudeau was asked if he apologized on his conduct to African leaders, Trudeau responds,
engage in a positive, constructive way around the world, standing up for human rights, engaging with leaders right around the world, because we know that promoting our values and prosperity for everyone around the world is good for Canadians and creates better opportunities for everyone.
So that didn't answer the question at all. Have you spoken to any African leaders or leaders from the Middle East to apologize for your personal conduct?
I have continued to engage with leaders around the world in a responsible way during an election campaign. My focus is connecting with Canadians, as I was able to tonight. And I was very pleased to see so many of the questions turn to the environment. In all sections, there was a clear contrast between those on stage who don't think we should be fighting climate change and those of us who do. And again, we are the only party with a clear plan to fight climate change.
On pipeline issue, consulting Indigenous leaders shares answer.
It's important to recognize that for thousands and thousands of Indigenous Canadians, the source of prosperity and jobs and opportunity comes from big energy projects. The number one industry that employs Indigenous Canadians is the mining sector. The company that employs the largest amount of Indigenous Canadians is an oil and gas company. And it's very important that we create a system where concerns can be addressed. And if a First Nations community has a concern, if they are impacted by a proposed project, that their concerns have to be taken into account and addressed.
André Lajoie, Eagle News International. I was just wondering, what do you think about the climate changes? As you know, we have been having lots of floods in Quebec, Ontario.
You're speaking about the weather.
Yeah.
You're not speaking about the climate.
Well,
so you have a question on the climate?
Yeah.
Yeah, the climate is always changing.
Yeah.
And, I don't have any problem with that. The normality for the climate is changing. So what I'm saying, I don't believe that the main reason for that is the human activity on this planet. It is not the main reason why the climate is changing. There's a lot of other factors. So what you're saying about what happened right now, it's the weather. And that's why I'm the only leader who does not believe in these climate change hysteria or climate change emergency.
Today's debate focuses on national and global leadership, affordability and insecurity, indigenous issues, human rights and immigration, environment and energy. It is an historic moment for Canadians to have more leaders on stage than any other point in Canadian political history. Reporting for Eagle News, I am André Lajoie from Gatineau. I am one with 25.
Eagle News will be right back. Stay tuned.
Tungkulin na MTRCV ang mag-provide
Linggo, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi.
U.S. President Donald Trump announced a partial trade deal with China after talks in Washington with Vice Premier Liu He. President Trump said he hoped to have a deal signed with President Xi Jinping in 4 weeks, 5 weeks, something like that. The signing could take place in the middle of November in Chile on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation or APEC summit. Take a look.
We're taking it from 8 billion, which it is now, and it was about 2 or 3 billion. They got down pretty low. But if you take the highest it ever was 16 billion, and we're bringing that to 50 billion. So we're going from 16 to 50. So anywhere between 40 and 50. And that'll start very soon. I think the relationship in certain ways may be better than it's ever been. We've been through a very tough negotiation. There's never been a negotiation like this. In all fairness, I give China tremendous credit because for 25 or 30 years, they've done very well with the U.S. And now we're doing something jointly. We've agreed in principle to just about everything I mentioned, all of the different points, and now we're getting it papered. And I don't think it should be a problem getting it papered. I think that China wants it badly, and so we want it also, and we should be able to get that done over the next 4 weeks. We're going to be in Chile in 5 weeks, so we'll see in terms of signing when it happens. We'll do a formal signing with President Xi and myself.
Pledged to rapidly increase purchases of U.S. farm goods to $40 to $50 billion a year, a sharp rise that would be more than double the level in 2017. In 2017, before the trade war started, China imported $19.5 billion of U.S. farm output, falling to just over $9 billion in 2018. President Trump said the talks had made very good progress on technology transfer as well, a key point of friction. Without giving further details, he said an agreement could be reached soon with U.S. companies sharing their know-how in exchange for access to Chinese markets. We have an agreement on intellectual property, the U.S. President said, claiming another obstacle to an overall deal had been overcome. U.S. Chief Negotiator Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer said a dispute settlement mechanism was being finalized. The mechanism is seen as essential by the U.S. to enforcing any agreement. Lighthizer said the next round of tariffs due to hit on December 15 could be canceled. Addressing President Trump, China's Vice Premier Liu He and reporters, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said the U.S. will hold off on the next tariff hike on Chinese goods. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that his summit with Chinese leader Xi Jinping would launch a new era between the neighbors who are seeking to overcome troublesome differences. Modi and Xi strolled along a pristine bay of Bengal Beach and held one-on-one talks overlooking the ocean before their delegation sat down to official negotiations at the historic resort town of Mabalimpuram, south of Chennai. The two leaders are meeting for the second time in a year in a bid to ease tensions over border disputes, the troubled Kashmir region, and China's domination of trade between their huge economies. Prime Minister Modi said a summit in the Chinese city of Wuhan last year gave increased stability and fresh momentum to our relationship. He also highlighted how the two had agreed last year to prudently manage the differences and not to allow them to become disputes. They agreed to remain sensitive to each other's concerns, so the relationship will be a source of peace and stability in the world. All these are our big achievements, he said, and inspire us to work harder. Modi didn't mention the irritations between the two sides, saying only that he and President Xi had discussed important bilateral and global issues. The build-up to the summit has been dominated by India's move in August to end the autonomous status of Jammu and Kashmir state. Changes ordered by the New Delhi government will see Kashmir's Ladakh region, part of which is claimed by Beijing, turned into a separate Indian administrative territory. India has moved closer to the United States and its allies in seeking a counterweight to China's growing military shadow in the Asia-Pacific region. In other business news, since 1964, the Neil S. Blaisdell Center in Honolulu has brought memorable moments for audiences not just in Hawaii but even around the world. And now the Blaisdell is set to undergo major reconstruction, which comes with a heavy price tag and some scrutiny by public officials. Our Hawaii correspondent, Georgie Carnate, has the details.
I think our community leaders saw it as the way we see it now, as sort of the center for the culture and arts in our community.
Located east of downtown Honolulu, between South King Street and Kapilani Boulevard, is Hawaii's largest and most popular community complex, the Neil S. Blaisdell Center. This includes the concert hall, exhibition center, and arena. The city's Director of Enterprise Services took some time to share with Eagle News about the rich history of this place.
So the campus that we're sitting on right now, the Neil S. Blaisdell Center, opened in 1964 as the Honolulu International Center, 22 acres. To me, it's a great story. It replaced the Honolulu Civic Auditorium, which was a couple blocks down the road on King Street from where we are. Very modest facility, probably sat on about an acre to an acre and a half of land, one structure that everything fit into. Wrestling, concerts, roller derby, graduations. Our civic and community leaders at the time had a much grander vision. They took us from this postage stamp of land and one facility to a multi-facility venue on 22 acres of land. I believe this site was selected because from looking at the newspaper stories at the time, it was lamented as the last open space in Honolulu in 1964. They were talking about how we were taking the last open space in Honolulu and creating this gathering place.
For more than 5 decades, the Blaisdell became the gathering place for events like concerts and other events for many famous people. One of those celebrities was Elvis Presley, who is still remembered to this day for his live performance that was also shown worldwide by satellite in January 1973. Eagle News got to visit the very dressing room where the King of Rock and Roll prepared for the historic concert. Meanwhile, one organization that utilized Blaisdell's facilities through the years is the Iglesia Ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, as seen here during their most recent event.
The grand celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Church of Christ in the 58th state has just concluded here in Blaisdell Arena.
Guy also described the city's goal to finally give the Blaisdell a new and refreshing look. The price tag for this master plan is currently almost $800 million.
Right. Our goals for the designers was, one, water has always been a significant part of this campus and needed to be in the future. Two, the Blaisdell, when it was first conceived and opened, was dedicated as a memorial to Hawaii's veterans. And we wanted to rededicate it in that fashion. So there needed to be a significant component to the design that honored that nature of the Blaisdell. And so we have this War Memorial Plaza that is one of the major entries into the future campus. Basically, everything on the campus is rebuilt other than the concert hall. That will stay and be significantly renovated in the interior. A little bit of the exterior will be touched. The rest of the campus comes down and gets rebuilt, but the arena is going to look like it was rehabilitated as opposed to rebuilt, because we're rebuilding it to look the same.
Guy and other city leaders have acknowledged the concerns of clients who frequently use Blaisdell's facilities and have repeatedly engaged with them with hopes of maintaining their trust and loyalty during and after the construction period.
We have several annual tenants, and some who have seasons here. The ballet has a season, the symphony has a season, Hawaii Opera Theater has a season. And we've been talking to those groups and many more, especially the ones that also have exhibitions, about alternatives. The unfortunate thing is the city doesn't have an alternative. We don't have another facility that these folks could go into and hold their events while we're under construction. But we've been having the dialogue with them, and we feel like we've had it early enough that they can start to look for alternatives on their own. And we were concerned that all of our efforts to try to keep a particular facility open may not end up being beneficial if people, for one reason or another, decide they don't want to come down to a construction site to see an event. So the easiest thing was to say, we'll close the facility all at once. If we have an opportunity to roll venues back online one at a time, then we would do that. So presently we haven't been taking bookings for anything past December of 2020, which is our scheduled closure.
Reporting from Honolulu, Hawaii, this is Joe G. Carnate, Eagle News, IM1 with 25.
The Church of Christ in Southern Ontario joined in the city's effort to plant trees in hopes to improve the neighborhood's quality of life. Our EBC correspondent, Angel Cacho, reports.
The Church of Christ in Southern Ontario joins the city's effort to plant trees in the hopes of improving the neighborhood's quality of life.
We're here today planting trees, so thank you so much for coming and helping us make Mississauga a better place.
Yeah,
sure. Thank you.
We learned this in high school, that trees gives oxygen, and oxygen is needed to live. So this kind of activity is really very important. And this is in line also with the present church administration's campaign to intensify all the works in the church, and that includes CFO activities. This is an activity of the CFO of Southern Ontario.
So yeah, first I'd just like to thank Church of Christ for coming out today to plant 400 trees in Lake Aquitaine Park. The importance of planting trees really is to better the environment and better the people that live there. So in the city of Mississauga, we have a lot of beautiful natural areas. We also have a lot of parking lots, roads, and concrete spaces, more urban spaces that definitely can contribute to a heating effect called urban heat island effect. So it's really important that we're adding trees to the local environment in Mississauga to help cool the atmosphere here locally and also on a global scale to try to combat climate change. Just thank you. Thank you for being here, for helping your community. I love to see groups come out and just dedicate their time towards helping the environment, helping the people in their community, and the Church of Christ is definitely doing that by being here today.
In conjunction with its volunteer services, helping improve the environment is one of the many events sponsored by the Church of Christ. Reporting from Lake Aquitaine in Mississauga, Ontario, for Eagle News, I'm Angel Cacho, 1 with 25.
And that's it for tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Eagle News International, I'm Alma Angeles, always 1 with 25. Good night.